this, but in American history, the Puritans, remember the Pilgrims, they were Puritans, okay? And all of New England, at one time, it was forbidden to celebrate Christmas. They didn't want that at all. Because, well, for one, they were rather dour and sour. We could start there, okay? But they thought they were cleansing the church, cleansing Christianity of any remotely connected pagan stuff. And we do know from church history, for example, that the reason we celebrate Christmas in December is there used to be a pagan festival at that time. It really wasn't about the Lord's birthday, which we have reason to believe might have been in the spring. Okay? But at any rate, they didn't want any of this celebration. And it was actually illegal for a long time to celebrate Christmas in New England. It connects with a kind of spirituality that makes the mistake of assuming that the spiritual life is all about these titanic struggles, you know, and it's always a battle, and it's always hard and difficult, and if you're looking happy, well, then you're just not trying very hard, are you? So it's got this negative thing going on in spirituality, and I met people like that even today. Now, the prophet Zephaniah is speaking to that. When he's speaking, King Manasseh has just died, and this king was one of the worst ones in Israelite history, honestly. He even introduced pagan worship into the temple in Jerusalem, if you can imagine that. And all the big shots went along with the king, and then there's this little remnant of faithful Israelites saying, wait, but they're having to support each other because the big shots are all against them. And so the prophet speaks for them and says, don't be afraid. God's going to rejoice over you, you little remnant, you little bit that's left. And within a few years, King Josiah grew up, and he became one of the great reformers in Jewish history. One of the great kings, okay? So things changed. St. Paul, writing to the people in Philippi today, when St. Paul wrote that letter and he said, rejoice, I say it again, rejoice. Guess what? He was in prison. He wasn't free. Imagine what a Roman dungeon was like. Yuck. You think prisons are bad today? And they are. Think about what they were then. Hideous. And the first thing he says to them is rejoice. Rejoice in the midst of all this garbage. Rejoice. Be happy. Everyone should see how generous you are, how you help each other. It's all about helping each other in the midst of difficulty. I'm reminded of a story I read where a person had a dream in which she saw two fancy rooms. The one fancy room, waiters were bringing out platters of luscious food, but everybody in the room had a long iron spoon attached to their arms and they couldn't get off, so they couldn't bend their elbows. So they couldn't do this. And they all started fighting each other because they're all afraid the other one might get it before they do. And they start whacking each other with these spoons, okay, because they don't want somebody else to get something they didn't get. One room. The other room, she saw, same thing, everybody had these things attached to their arms, but they had figured out a way to help feed each other. They could share with their neighbor, and their neighbor could feed them, you see. And they were happy and laughing about it. The first room, think about it, is the antechamber to hell. That's what it's about. Greed, fear that somebody's getting what I deserve, and getting more than I get. That's a good road to hell. Live your life that way, you're on the way. It's bad. But the other room is the antechamber to heaven because they never had much to begin with, and they figured out they needed to help each other. They learned that in life. And so they're happy because they're helping each other. What a difference. So of course St. Paul can say from prison, rejoice. And then John the Baptist. People were hoping at the time of Jesus and John the Baptist that their great military hero figure was going to come Remember, he's what they call Son of Man. And at the same time, an anointed Messiah, Christ, an anointed man is going to appear from somewhere who will be the Son of David, Son of Man, Son of David, and come back on the throne of their independent kingdom. And they have this idea very strongly that for the Son of Man, God's going to send help. Angels are going to come flying out of the clouds with swords and other cool stuff and kill lots of Romans and drive them into the sea. And their war hero, the Son of Man, is going to lead this army. They're all going to join in. They're going to get their kingdom back. They're going to get a Son of David back on the throne, and everything's going to be wonderful. And they're thinking, maybe John the Baptist, maybe he's the one. Maybe he's the Son of David. Maybe he might be the anointed one, this priest. John the Baptist is a priest. Remember, his father was a priest, so he's a priest. But John shoots their hopes down, and he says again, I'm not the one. There's one coming after me who I am not worthy to untie his sandal straps. That's a priest saying that. Big stuff, this one coming after him. And we know from other gospel stories, John will refer to Jesus as the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world, which we say during Mass. Humans can't take away the sins of the world. Only God can do that. Wow. There he goes, John says. Behold, there he is. You see, isn't this amazing? That in the midst of the world as it is, in the midst of all the garbage that people were living with at the time of Jesus and John, God is with them. And it's no different for us today, is it? Think of all the garbage we've got to deal with. San Bernardino is only one thing. Think of all these other things that have gone on and are going on. Imagine what it's like to be a Christian in the Middle East. Ho, 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 happy holidays, really? It's pretty nasty. Just think about that. But in the midst of this, God has promised to be with us. Not to take away everything and make it lovely, but to be with us as we live our Christian life, as we light the candle rather than curse the darkness. You know that expression. That's our job, is to reveal Christ in the world as it is, to be the sons and daughters of God, to be Christ present in this world now, in our space and time. And we can do this because of the power of Christ, who brings us divine life through his life. That's why we can do it. Otherwise, no, we couldn't. But because of him, we can. And that's a beautiful thing on this Gaudete Sunday, when we're looking at rosy kind of colors, that we remember that in the midst of the darkness, that rosy light of dawn is coming.